Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. And welcome back to another tutorial video. So this is for BB Crafts. So if you have seen recently, I did an unboxing for BB Crafts, and I got loads of really gorgeous things, including these lovely bezels for doing acrylic resin. That's the word I'm looking for. Some beautiful ceramic beads. I can't wait to make some jewellery with those. I got some paper, which is a bit like tracing paper that you can use alcohol markers on. And I also got these, which are bead caps. And they're really beautiful. They're like little crowns. And they're really, really gorgeous. And obviously you can use them with jewellery, and they would look beautiful, particularly with some of those gorgeous ceramic beads that I got. So I may use them in jewellery. I'm not sure yet. I actually got them because I wanted to use them in flowers. So these are the flowers that I have made, and as you can see, the beautiful crowns are inside the flowers, and they make that centerpiece, and I just thought they're really unusual and look really, really stunning. So I thought I'd share with you how I made them. So obviously, first of all, you're going to need some die cuts. I have die cut a big load of Petals. I think this is Spellbinders, the set that I've got. I think it's the Country Roses, something like that, from Spellbinders, but you can use anything. Doesn't really matter. Obviously, if you petal flowers, you know, if the petals are a slightly different shape, you'll get a slightly different look to your flower, but they will all work. I'm also using this cardstock, which is linen texture neutral card pack from Hobbycraft. I find this is quite nice for making flowers out of. It's sort of thin enough to be able to shape it, but thick enough that it holds its shape once you've done it. So I'm using some of those. So I've got 2 of one size and 1 of a slightly smaller size to create this particular flower. I've then obviously got my centres, my little bead caps that I'm going to use for my centres. I need a couple of inks, so in this case I'm using some Distress Oxides. I find that the oxides are really good for flower making if you want to use paler colours, because they lay down a lot easier than the original Distress inks with the paler colours. So I've got 2. I've got Squeezed Lemonade and Fossilised Amber that I'm going to use this time. And I've also got some beads. Now, I can't actually remember where I got these from. They may have been in all of the 50p packs of beads that I picked up from Hobbycraft. Now, I'm going to be honest, I will never use these as beads. They're acrylic, they're cheap acrylic, they're just not going to last on jewellery. They don't look particularly classy, so I would never use them in jewellery. I'd use them in dangles and things like that, but I won't use them in jewellery. But I thought they'd make really interesting centres of flowers, so I'm going to use 1 of those as well. You're also going to need a makeup applicator or something like that to put your ink on with, a foam mat, and I'm using these 2 to shape my flowers. I'm using a ball stylus, which this is just one of the fondant ones that I got for Valley, and this is actually a zit popper, I think it is. They're about 40p off of AliExpress. I got a load of them for flower making. You can do it with just the ball stylus if that's all you've got, and that'll work fine too. And also, just to finish the edges off, I've used a little bit of glitter glue. You don't have to do that, it's just an extra, or you could just use a bit of white glue with some loose glitter, you know, whatever. I just happen to have a load of this stuff in my stash, so I thought I might as well use some of it up. So to start with, you're going to start by doing the colour on the petals. So let's move all that out of the way. So I always start with the lighter, so in this case it's the Squeezed Lemonade, and I'm just going to load up my makeup brush, and from the centre of this flower, very lightly, I'm just brushing outwards into the petal, like so, just like that. And this is just putting down that little bit of a base layer, and you don't have to be perfect. There's no sort of, you know, there's no particular pattern. If you look at flowers in the wild, they're very rarely 100% perfect, and, you know, every petal looking the same, and, you know, so just more than anything, it's just getting a bit of colour on there. This is the one that you're going to see the most of. So if you're going to, you know, faff about and make any of them look really super cool, this is the one that you want to spend the time on. I don't, because I don't think that it shows all that much in the finished product. So, okay, just like this. Like I say, it's just getting a bit of that colour down like that. Now I'm going to pop on over to the slightly darker one, which is, in this case, I've gone for fossilised amber. I've just gone for whatever I've got in my stash. And I'm going to put a little bit more on, but I'm not putting as much, so that you still see the pale colour, but you've got a little bit of variation in there. You know, just it ends up looking a bit like the sort of veining on the flower. Again, this is the one where I want to make sure it looks reasonable, because this is the one you're really going to see the most of. So this is the one that, you know, I'm going to spend the time on. And I'll be honest, you know, because I make them in big batches, I tend not to spend loads and loads of time on my inking of my flowers. I try and find techniques where, you know, I haven't got to spend a ton of time, unless I'm doing a very special card and I'm only making a few of a particular flower for a special card. I tend to just, you know, find quick and easy inking techniques. Okay, now once I've done that, I'm going to take the flat of my makeup brush and I'm just going to very lightly run around the edges of the petals and just give those just a little bit of colour, and that just sort of adds a little bit of definition to your final flower. So again, I'm just going to do that on all of my leaves, all of my petals. You know, I'm not thinking about it too much, just a little bit all around the edges, like so. Trying to see how long it is. I've got to go and pick my daughter up from school in a minute because she's got a podiatry appointment this afternoon. So keeping an eye on the clock. I'm clock watching. And if anything sort of, you know, dulls down and it's a bit duller than you want it to be, you can always just go back over. So I'm going to leave those ones at that. So now I need to shape my flower, and this is where I need my ball stylus. So even if I am using the loop tool, I still always start with the ball stylus, because this starts to break the fibres on your flower up. Now with this particular paper that I've got, it's like a linen texture, and it does go sort of a bit darker. You get a bit of black marking where I rub the ball stylus on it, and that's okay for me for this particular flower because I am going for a more vintage look to the flowers. If I didn't like that, I would probably just stick with the loop tool, because I don't tend to get that patination when using the loop tool. But I am quite liking that sort of vintagey look that it's giving, because that's, you know, a lot of my projects do tend to err on the vintage side. So I'm just rubbing my ball stylus around all of the petals like so. So I hope everybody is well. I hope that Pat is on the mend. I know she's having a really rough time of it, and it was a sort of very scary for a while there for, you know, particularly all her very close friends, and she's still not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination, but yesterday there was some improvement, so I am well wishing to the high heavens that that continues and that Pat is recovering and back home with the boys before too long. It's funny not having comments on videos, and it's just yeah, it's been a rough old year. There we go. So I'm going to continue like this. And it does take a little bit of pressure in that first, you know, when you first get going, to really break up the fibres of that paper. Now this is where I bring my loop tool in. I tend to like to use the thinner end. And I just, from the top to the bottom, pull down, particularly along those edges of the petals. And what it'll actually do is it creates a little bit more, almost like fluting in the petal, and you'll get those ruffles along the petals' leaves. and just that little bit more sort of body and shape to the petal. I keep using the word leaves and petals interchangeably, and obviously they're not the same thing. So you can see how that one's just got a little bit more shape to it, and a little bit more, it just looks a little bit more natural. Now you could do that with the ball stylus as well. If you use the thinner ends on your ball stylus and just go right down the edges and right down the middle, and you can sort of squeeze and push with your ball stylus and run it down those edges like that, and you get much the same look. I just prefer to do it with this one. I just find it very slightly easier to do it with this one. It is also, this pad is getting a bit ratty and old, and I am finding it a little bit more challenging, so I'm going to have to find my other flower shaping mat out, because it's getting stuck in all the divots and things on this mat now, because I've had it for so long and used it so much. But it is really important to have a nice squishy surface underneath you, otherwise your flowers just won't shape properly. You won't get that level of cupping and fluting to your petals. So obviously you can play with this as much as you want, going in and, you know, just pushing with the ball stylus will cause the petals to sort of move in towards that, wherever you've put the ball stylus. So sort of popping it towards the top and giving it a push will bring the tips of your petals in slightly like that, and again cause more of that sort of fluting effect. Once you've got your petals the way that you want them to be, each round is the way you want it to be, you're just going to glue it together. For that I just use white tacky glue, and obviously any glue you can use. I tend not to use hot glue, particularly if I'm wanting to put stamens through them. It wouldn't be, you'd be able to do it on these ones because I'm not putting any stamens on them, but the white glue is just easier because you can move it about a little bit until you've got it, because you want to sort of do it so that your petals are slightly offset, so that they're not all facing in the same way, and then you get that lovely finish to your flower. Now we've got to decide what centre we want. I'm going to go for gold because I think that is just perfect for this beautiful yellow flower. Now to glue my crowns down, because obviously I'm gluing metal to paper, I'm using this Anita's clear glue. It works fantastically. It takes a little while to dry, but once it's dried they don't move. So the only thing is it does block very easily. So if I put my big pin, I use a great big long beading needle. I find that's the best thing in the world for unblocking your any sort of nib on anything. Big long beading needle will do it, and they're cheap as chips off of Valley. So I just put a bit of the glue all the way around the edge there, and then place that crown exactly where I want it to be. Obviously you can use your ball stylus or a poker tool or whatever to just get it in exactly the right spot for you. Once you're happy, I'm going to fill the crown bit there in the centre with some of this clear gloss glue. Now you could leave it at that, and what you would get is the beautiful crown, and when that clear gloss dries you'll get that beautiful clear glossy centre to it, and that would look gorgeous. You could sprinkle some nail flocking, you could sprinkle some micro beads in there, you could put just a flat pack gem in there, so you don't have to go out and buy anything. You will have things in your stash that you can use to enhance these beautiful crown bead caps. So I've just cut the little tag piece, the little loop that is used for, you know, beading it. I've just cut that off with a pair of big chunky scissors. And then I'm going to place my bead. Now I tend to do this with a pair of tweezers because I'm not very steady handed. So I'm going to put my bead tweezers up the other way, it would help. I'm going to place that in the top of my crown and just let it settle. Now it looks milky at the moment, and that's just because the glue is still wet. Once that glue dries, the crystal will go completely clear again, and you get that beautiful faceted crystal look in your flower centre. And there we go. That's how I've been making these gorgeous flowers using these beautiful, beautiful bead caps from BB Crafts. They are stunning, and I probably will use some in some jewellery making as well. But I just love the fact that you got loads of different colours, so it doesn't matter what project you're doing, it doesn't matter what colour flowers it is that you want, you've got the perfect colour to go with your project. And you know, you can use like the gold or the silver for golden or silver wedding anniversaries. You've got the antique gold, antique silver there as well. So you've got a couple of different sort of golds. You've got that lovely coppery colour. You've got the bronze, and then you've got the bright silver and the antique silver. Just gorgeous. So I really love them, and I'm thrilled to bits with them. And every single one of these will get used either in jewellery making or in making some more of these stunning flowers, because I think these are beautiful and they would just add something special to that special project. So I hope you've enjoyed having a look at how I've made these flowers. I will be back next week with another project. I think I'm going to use these bezels. I'm going to do a piece of jewellery with these bezels, and I'll give you a sneak peek. I have already been playing with altering the look of these bezels, and I'm loving it, absolutely loving it. So yeah, I'll be back next week to show you what I've done with those. But for now, this is my BB Craft tutorial for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please remember to give me a thumbs up, share on your social media if you would do that. I really appreciate all the help to get my channel out there so that other people can share in you know, the tutorials and things that I create. There will be a link to BB Crafts in the description box below this video with a link to these as long as they're still in stock. But also have a look at the other bead caps that they've got, because there's loads of different types of bead caps that you can do similar things with. And there will also be a discount code, so if you are going to put an order in, don't forget to use that. So that's it from me for now. I will see you all again very soon in another crafty video. Bye for now.